Sup guys, Melon's back. This time we're bringing you another new unit showcase, and we're going to bring you Troublemaker Crozet this time. First up, we're just going to go over his skills. His S1 is attack the enemy in an act of fate with a 40% chance to stun for 1 turn. When it's not the caster's turn, effect chance increases by 20%. Damage dealt increases proportionate to the caster's max health. I didn't realize this. So it's 40% chance to stun regularly, and when it's not his turn, when he counters because your backline got hit, it's a 60% chance to stun. That's kind of a high rate for something that has a counter, right? Countering is this is just in general his S2. So his S2 is receive 40% of the damage suffered by the ally in the back row. That means that it's kind of an Aureus just for your backline unit, right? 40% is a huge amount of number too. Only the highest damage distribution effect will be applied. So that means if it's Aureus and this together, this will be applied because this is the higher defense shared, right? At the moment the ally in the back row is attacked, increase combat radius of the caster by 15%, and it has a 35% chance to counterattack. So when he has this 35% chance to counterattack, we have a 60% chance to stun. This is quite high actually. I didn't realize how important this was. So his S3 is Oath of Protection. Swears on Oath of Protection, dispelling all debuffs from the caster and 1 ally, before increasing defense for 3 turns. Grants class enchantment to the ally for 3 turns and increasing the combat readiness by 40%. So the 40% combat readiness is actually the EE I chose for him. But besides that, we're going to look at what class enchantment is. So for Thief, Warrior, Ranger, and Mage, increase critical hit resist. And for Knight and Soldier, it's just a barrier. So it's just in general, this S3 gives a barrier, cleanses, and anti-crit, and defense buff depending what class they are, right? So just in general, Crozet is just made to protect. He's just a total shrimp, guys. He's just there to protect your backline, protect your DPS, and make sure to get out of any harm, right? So the TLDR of his kit, he's a great unit just for Aureus, right? He has this mitigation where there's a huge Aureus share. You really want to pair him up with like units like S10A, Landy, Rylot, let's say Ravi. It's just in general, anyone that can really solo carry that game, right? Crozet will make sure that happens because he can cleanse them, he gives them defense buff, anti-crit. Just make sure that they, at the end of the day, survive long enough to really get damage dealt, right? Okay, so the way I built my Crozet is 200 speed, 23 KHP, 1600 defense, and 100 ER, right? So the reason for my build here, my theory here is, since he gets CR pushed every time his backline gets hit, you want him fast enough where he can cut, right? But not too fast where he cuts everyone and then gets put in an awkward spot. So you want it where, like, let's say they take turns with their RB and their LR crowd, and all of a sudden Crozet gets his turn, because that means they did 2 AoEs and he should get a 30% CR boost, right? So you want him at a speed where he could eventually cut and really just ruin or interrupt the enemy's turn, right? So let's say the RB is not their fastest unit, they have 2 units that were faster or 1 unit that was faster. He cuts in, he boosts up your backline. Let's say I boost up my Rylot and I one-shot that RB, right? All of a sudden RB already is on his second life and he did an S3 at the beginning. So in general, you want him at speed where you could cut and really just like disrupt the flow. That's how I like to play my Crozet. You want him really tanky. You go for more HP over defense because he kind of has an Aureus, right? He's sharing damage. This shared damage doesn't really rely on defense because you're sharing the damage that's already been taken from your backline, right? So your backline defense is what matters, not Crozet's defense. But at the end of the day, you do want some defense, right? So some defense and just more HP. So HP is more important on Crozet than defense. Even if it's a bit less effectiveness, like effective HP, even though it's a bit less, you kind of always want to go for HP priority on him, right? Because he's sharing damage more than taking damage. Okay, and you always need a speed immunity, speed set, most efficient set, most easy set to get, and immunity, because if you want to play him RTA, you just need immunity, right? Even if I have some effect resist on him, effect resist won't stop you for everything, right? The reason why I have just 100 effect resist on him is just to prevent like that first turn provoke or something, or that second turn provoke, right? You really want him to really get his S3 off. Another thing is, a unit that really people might really bring into your Crozet is Viseria. Viseria could be a slight issue because they don't really run too high of effectiveness Viseria, right? So you still have a good chance of just resisting. But Crozet does have the cleanse, right? So in general, I think Crozet's still decent to Viseria. Not a bad pick at all. Okay, so the other thing that should be talked about is his artifact pool. So there's actually so many artifact options for him. I'm gonna just name a few. There's Bastion, there's Rise of Monarch, there's Albris, there's Adamant, There's even some general artifacts that could be applied on him. Let me show you the ones that could be applied. The Guardian Star people runs. So after the caster uses a basic skill, recovers the health of the ally except for the caster of the highest attack. So every time he counters, he heals the backline unit, right? Or like your highest unit attack. And then the other one they run is Temperance. After using a basic skill, grants a barrier equivalent to 5.5. It goes higher. I think it goes like 10% of the caster's max health for 2 turns to the ally, except for the caster with the lowest health. It's kind of like a FCC shield, but it applies on his auto attack, right? So this is what some people are running, but in my opinion, I don't think this is the most effective artifact on him. If you really want the barrier, I'd rather run Monarch, and if you really want something even better, I would run Bastion. Because when you run a protect the backline unit, right, the barrier turn 2 is not as important as the barrier turn 1. Meaning that when you use them with something like Lanny, something that's you'll use quite often, right? So Lanny really excels when she has a barrier on her. So if Lanny doesn't really have the barrier turn 1, and all of a sudden your Lanny's stuffed, right? They could easily knock your Lanny out of stuff. So when your Lanny's in stuff, she gets a 50% reduced damage from AoE, right? So if she has a barrier, it's extremely hard to knock her out of stuff. The fact that you don't have the barrier yet, and you're relying on, let's say, Temperance, right? Temperance means you're getting the barrier when he hits. Sorry, that's the wrong artifact. You're relying so much on the fact that you have to be able to S1, right? Where is it? Right here. You're relying on the fact that you have to S1 to get that barrier. What if you don't get that barrier in time? Your Lanny will get knocked out of stuff and you're in a tricky spot, right? So that's why I run Bastion. The Bastion gets a 2-turn barrier turn 1 and immunity turn 1, right? So you get away with not running immunity, and this barrier is just fat enough for your Lanny will never get knocked out. Some people run Elbrus, but I think Elbrus is just too RNG. You don't really need it. There's also another thing people run is Troublemaker, Crozet, and Spez. Meaning is they use Troublemaker, Crozet S1. Soul Burn is increased effectiveness chance by 50%. That means that you have a 100% chance to stun. It's not guaranteed because they could resist it still, but it still means that it's 100% gonna proc. So what they do is they'll do 100% stun on your SSB, on your Ravi, just in general any unit with no ER. They'll stun your unit, and Spez will follow up in S3 just immediately kill them, right? So this Spez cheese combo with Crozet has been pretty strong too, because this is what, only 1 soul burn, right? So it takes 10 souls and you could just spam this back to back, right? So I even lost myself to this Spez Crozet combo. Pretty nice, pretty nice. I do recommend the people who thought of it up, but at the same time it won't work forever, right? What if you just ban Crozet? Then that Spez combo gets a little tricky. But at the end of the day, this is just Crozet, right? This is Crozet really hard carrying the meta right now. Okay, so the last thing I want to check is Troublemaker Crozet's exclusive equipment. Okay, so there's 3 options for this. I'm running the one that gives them 40% CR to the person he S3s. So let's go over the 3. So first one is increased Chivalry counterattack chance by 15% at the moment the ally in the back row is attacked. So it's normally 35%, and now it'll become 50%, right? Kinda cool, but not really important, right? The second one is protect the caster health when using over protection. Recovers the caster health when using over protection. Amount recovered increases proportionate to the caster's max health. So this means that because he's taken so much aura shear damage, let's say he took a LR Cal S3, now he's taking like half HP damage, right? He can heal himself back up, so it's not that bad. But I think the one that you really want is the third one. Increase combat readiness of the target by 40% when using overprotection. So this is really nice because you could use this with, like, let's say your Soul Weaver. All of a sudden your Crozet get pushed up a lot because your backline got hit, right? So now you're in trouble, everyone's low or everyone's debuffed. You could S3 your Soul Weaver, cleanse, heal, revive, anything. You could S3 your LR Crowd, get immunity up. You could literally S3 your DPS to just kill that RB right away. Just in general, I think the the third one for Crozet, the third exclusive equipment is the most flexible and usable one for him. Okay, last thing we're gonna check is his imprints. So his imprints is effectiveness, resist, imprint release, and imprint concentration is HP%. Really easy to get just a lot of HP on him, right? So just in general, Crozet is really easy to build, and he's in right now as Mystic, right? So if you really need him and you think about pulling Solitaria, it's not that bad. It's a pretty good pull. Solitaria is a decent unit, and Crozet is amazing right now. Just in general, guys, really good unit right now. I really recommend pulling him, or not pulling him, but just using him in general. If you guys have any questions about how to use him, any more info, or anything you also want to know, just let me know. Alright guys, Take care. It's been a good one. I'll see you guys around. Later, guys.